Are you setting good expectations for your team? Are you setting the right expectations for your team so that they can be successful? And do you even know whether or not your team understands what you expect of them? Well, let's dig into that right now. Establishing a clear set of expectations for your team is critical for success for several reasons. The first reason is the more obvious reason. When expectations are clearly defined and everyone understands what they're supposed to be doing, then they will be able to complete the tasks and responsibilities assigned to them much more efficiently. Another reason for clear expectations is to eliminate the possibility of misinterpretation. Now, I know from my own engineering background that if I gave a set of vague requirements to 5 different software engineers and told them to implement the requirements, I would get 5 different versions, essentially each one having their own unique, pieces to it. So leaving it up to interpretation is not going to give you consistent results. And one more reason to set clear expectations for your employees is that employee morale is very heavily driven based off of an employee understanding their responsibilities, where they fit in the company, what is expected of them. And so when that doesn't exist, a lot of times employees tend to drift a little bit. So what can you do to set clear expectations? Well, for one, rule number 1 is do not assume. Something may be absolutely crystal clear to you, but your team may have a different take on something, or they may be approaching it from a different perspective. Number 2 is always ask questions. Always probe into your team's understanding of an item or topic. This kind of goes back to the not assuming, but I think it's more general to say don't just assume that your team is going to ask questions if they don't understand something. Sometimes people might not feel comfortable asking questions if no one else is. So it may be a situation where you really have to probe into your team and say, does everyone have a very clear understanding of what's going on, what we're going to be accomplishing, and start, addressing people individually. So do you understand what your role is in this project? And see where you can go from there. And lastly, always follow up in writing. And this serves 2 purposes. For one, you have a reference point to go back to when your expectations are not being met. And 2, it also gives the employees a reference point to go back to if they're in the middle of a project and they want clarification on something. They have a set of instructions that you've already provided. They may not remember what you said in a meeting, but if you've got it written down, then it should be very clear to everyone involved.